Gia stepped off the transport ship and took her first breath of recycled station air. It smelled like metal and strange flowers. The Galactic Academy station hung in space like a giant wheel, turning slowly around a blue star. This was her new home. "All human students report to Section 7 for orientation," said a computer voice. Gia picked up her bags and walked through the crowded arrival hall. All around her were aliens of different shapes, sizes, and colors. Some had 6 arms, others had scales or feathers. Gia was the only human in sight. A tall, blue-skinned alien bumped into her, making her drop her bag. "Watch where you walk, Earth creature," he said, looking down at her with 4 yellow eyes. His skin had patterns that glowed when he spoke. Gia knew about the Takri. They ruled most of the galaxy. They thought they were better than everyone else, especially humans who were new to space travel. "Sorry," Gia said, even though it wasn't her fault. She had learned it was better not to start fights, especially on her first day. The orientation room was small. Only 3 other humans were supposed to come this year, but Gia was alone. "The others canceled," explained Ms. Park, the human advisor. She was the only other human on the station. "You're the first human to attend the academy in 5 years." Gia felt a heavy weight on her shoulders. She had to do well, not just for herself, but for all humans. Her room was on level 44, in the foreign species section. When the door slid open, she saw her roommate had already moved in. Half the room was covered in hanging plants and soft lighting. "Hello, you must be the human." A voice came from what looked like a pile of pillows. The pillows moved, and Gia saw they were actually part of a body. A face appeared, round with large purple eyes that blinked sideways. "I'm Doyen," said the alien, her skin changing from blue to a friendly pink. "I'm Muriel, from the Water Moons." "I'm Gia," she said, putting down her bags. "From Earth." "Earth. I've heard it's full of water, but you all live on the dry parts. How strange." Doyen's skin rippled with excitement. "We're going to be friends. I can tell." That night, after Doyen fell asleep, which meant turning a deep green color, Gia couldn't sleep. The station's artificial gravity felt wrong. The air tasted different. She missed Earth's open sky. She opened her personal tablet and started typing. Day 1 at Galactic Academy. Today I learned that being the only human here makes me a curiosity, like an animal in a zoo. The mighty Takri look at us like we're children who accidentally found the grown-up table. If they're so advanced, why do they still push people in hallways? Advanced rudeness, perhaps asterisk. Asterisk, my roommate is nice though. Doyen changes colors like Earth teenagers change clothes. She thinks it's weird we live on land when Earth has perfectly good oceans. Maybe she has a point asterisk. Gia smiled as she wrote. Adding a touch of humor made her feel better. She tagged her post, "A Human's Guide to Not Panicking in Space," and uploaded it to her personal blog. Probably no one would read it except her parents, and maybe a few friends back home. The next morning, Gia went to her first class. Galactic Politics and Power Structures. The teacher, Professor Q, was a small bird-like alien with silver feathers and quick movements. The classroom was huge, with seats for 100 students arranged in rising circles. Gia took a seat in the back row, trying not to be noticed, but everyone stared at her anyway. A Takri student sat beside her. She wore the special gold uniform of the royal families. "I'm Suk," she said, surprising Gia with her friendly tone. "You're the human, right? I've never talked to one before." Before Gia could answer, Professor Q started the class. "Today we begin with the natural order of species and why the Takri Council guides lesser races," he said. Gia opened her tablet and began taking notes, not knowing that across the galaxy, someone had just shared her blog post. And people were laughing. 3 weeks passed. Gia was getting used to life at the academy. She learned how to use the food machines, how to find her way through the station's many levels, and how to tell when Doyen was happy or upset based on her colors. Every night, Gia wrote in her blog. She wrote about the strange food, the funny ways aliens greeted each other, and the rules that made no sense to her. Asterisk today in history class, we learned how the Tekri brought order to the galaxy. Funny how their version of order means everyone does what they say. It's like that kid in kindergarten who says, "Let's play fair," but then makes all the rules asterisk. What Gia didn't know was that her blog had readers, many readers. On a faraway planet called Neridian, a young man named Huck sat in a dark room. The walls were made of stone, and the only light came from his small screen. Huck was human-looking, but with golden skin and large eyes that could see in the dark. He was Neridian, from a world that had been under Tekri rule for 300 years. "Look at this," Huck said to the others in the room. The human girl wrote again. 5 faces looked up at him. They were all members of the Quiet Voice, a secret group that wanted freedom for their planet. "Her words are perfect," said Misso, an older woman with a scar across her face. "She sees the truth because she is an outsider." Huck nodded. "I will translate it and send it to the mining towns." Every time Gia posted, Huck would change it to the Neridian language and send it to workers, students, and anyone who might listen. People shared her words in whispers. They laughed at her jokes about the Tekri, and when they laughed, they were less afraid. Back at the academy, Gia was eating lunch when Suk sat down across from her. "May I join you?" the Tekri girl asked, though she had already put down her tray. "Sure," Gia said, surprised. Tekri students usually ate only with their own kind. Suk's 4 eyes blinked in a pattern Gia couldn't read. "You're different from what I expected," Suk said. "What did you expect?" "Our teachers say humans are simple and don't understand complex ideas, but you ask good questions in class." Gia almost choked on her food. "Well, your teachers are wrong." Suk looked around to make sure no one was listening. "I know. That's why I wanted to talk to you. I have questions." That day, after classes, Suk took Gia to a quiet place in the station's garden level. It was a small room filled with plants from different worlds. The air smelled sweet. "This is my favorite place," Suk said. "No one comes here but me." Gia touched a blue flower that closed when her finger got close. "Why are you being nice to me? Won't you get in trouble?" Suk's skin patterns glowed soft yellow, which Gia had learned meant she was thinking deeply. "My family is important. My father sits on the High Council. I am supposed to believe humans are less. But I don't think that's true." "It's not," Gia said simply. "Tell me about Earth," Suk said. "Tell me the truth, not what's in our books." So Gia did. She told Suk about cities and oceans, about different countries and languages, about how humans fought with each other, but also helped each other. Suk listened with all 4 eyes wide open. That night, Gia wrote about their talk. Asterisk had the strangest chat with a Tekri today. Turns out even the high and mighty have doubts. Maybe when you're told you're perfect all the time, it gets tiring. She asked about Earth like it was some fairy tale land where people make their own choices. Imagine that asterisk. As Gia slept, her words traveled across the stars. On Neridian, workers read them by the light of 3 moons. In the mines, people whispered her jokes as they worked. And in a meeting room of the Quiet Voice, Huck made a decision. "It's time," he told the others. "The humans' words have given our people courage. We start tomorrow." And across the galaxy, something began to change. 2 months into the school year, Gia noticed things were changing. Other students looked at her in the hallways. Some moved away when she came close. Others watched her with strange interest. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked Doyen one morning as they got ready for class. Doyen's skin turned a nervous yellow. "There are rumors. The Tekri security officers have been asking about foreign students." "Why?" "Something is happening on the outer planets. The news doesn't say much, but my cousin works on a trade ship. He says there's trouble on Neridian." Gia didn't know what to think. She went to her classes as usual, but she felt eyes on her all day. In Professor Q's politics class, the teacher seemed different. He kept looking at Jia when he talked about changing times and new ideas. Today, Professor Q said, his silver feathers shining under the lights, "We will have a special discussion. I want to hear from our Earth student. Jia, please tell us how decisions are made on your planet." Jia felt her face get hot as everyone turned to look at her. She stood up slowly. "Well," she said, "it depends on where on Earth you live. But in many places, people vote for their leaders." A Techri student laughed. "Everyone votes. Even the simple workers. How do they know what's best?" Jia took a deep breath. "We believe that everyone deserves a voice. It's not perfect, but it works better than having a few people decide everything for everyone else." The room went quiet. Professor Q's eyes seemed to shine more brightly. "Thank you, Jia," he said. "Class, consider this idea. Is it so strange?" That night, Jia wrote in her blog again. Asterisk had to explain democracy today to a bunch of aliens who think only special people should make decisions. Their minds were blown. It's like explaining to a fish that not everything needs to be underwater. Some ideas are so basic to us, but revolutionary to others. Makes me wonder what Earth ideas I take for granted that might actually be special. Asterisk. Far away on Neridian, Hyuk read her new post with a smile. The first protest had happened that morning. 500 workers had stopped working in the main city mine. They stood together silently, holding signs with quotes from The Human Perspective, the name they had given to Joe's blog. The Techri guards didn't know what to do. They were used to fighting rebels with weapons, not workers who just stood and watched them with calm eyes. "It's working," Miso told Hyuk as they met in their secret room. "The guards didn't attack. They just took pictures and left." "Next week," Hyuk said, "we do the same at the spaceport. And the week after, the food processing center. No fighting, no shouting, just standing together." Back at the academy, Suk found Jia in the garden room. She looked worried, her skin patterns flashing dark colors. "My father called me last night," Suk said quietly. "He asked if I knew any humans at the school." Jia felt cold. "What did you say?" "I said we have classes together. Nothing more." Suk moved closer. "Jia, be careful. Something is happening, and the High Council is worried." "But I haven't done anything," Jia said. Suk touched Jia's hand with her slim blue fingers. Sometimes doing nothing can still change everything. That evening, Professor Q asked Jia to stay after class. When all the other students had left, he closed the door. "Miss Jia," he said softly, "do you write a personal blog?" Jia's heart jumped. "Yes, just for my family and friends back home." Professor Q's feathers rustled. "I see. And are you aware that your observations are being read across several star systems?" "What? No, that's impossible," Jia said. Professor Q took out a small device and showed her a screen. On it was her blog, but translated into a language she didn't know. Below it were comments, thousands of them. "The truth," Professor Q said, "especially when spoken simply, has power. Your words have wings now, Miss Jia, and no one can catch them." Jia couldn't sleep. Her blog, her simple words about daily life, had somehow become important. Professor Q had warned her to be careful, but didn't tell her to stop writing. "Truth is never wrong," he had said, his bird-like head tilted. "But those in power often fear it." The next morning, the news screens all over the academy showed the same thing: trouble on Neridian. The reports called it civil unrest, but the pictures showed thousands of people standing silently in front of Techri buildings. "They're not even doing anything," Jia said as she watched with Doyen. "They're just standing." Doyen's skin rippled with worried purple spots. "That's why the Techri don't know how to respond. They can't arrest people for standing." In class that day, half the seats were empty. The Techri students had been called to a special meeting. When they returned, they looked angry and confused. Suk found Jia in the lunchroom. "We need to talk," she said. Her voice was flat. "Not here." They went to their garden room. As soon as the door closed, Suk turned to Jia. "Did you know your words are being used as a weapon?" she asked. "They're calling it the human perspective, and rebels are using it to question everything." Jia sat down heavily on a bench. "I didn't know. They're just my thoughts." "Exactly," Suk said. "You point out things we never question, like why Takrai eat first in the dining hall, or why other species have smaller rooms. You make jokes about it, but when we hear it, you see how unfair it is," Jia finished. Suk's skin patterns showed a mix of emotions Jia couldn't read. "My father says Neridian will break away from the Empire. It's never happened before." That night, Jia didn't write in her blog. She just stared at the blank screen, thinking about all the eyes that might see her words, all the people standing silently on a planet she'd never visited. The next day, everything changed. The news screens showed the Takri governor of Neridian standing before a huge crowd. He was reading from a paper. The sound was off, but the text at the bottom of the screen said, "Nini Uridien, Gigurantid NDPNDNT status." The academy erupted in chaos. Classes were canceled. Security officers patrolled the hallways. All communication with outside worlds was cut off. Jia found Professor Q in his empty classroom. He was calmly packing his things. "What's happening?" Jia asked. "History," he said simply. "The first planet has broken free without a war. The governor had no choice. The workers controlled the mines, the ports, the food, all by simply standing together. Because of me." Jia could hardly believe it. Professor Q shook his head. "No, because they were ready for change. Your words just helped them see that they weren't alone in their thoughts." He looked around, then lowered his voice. 3 more worlds are doing the same thing now. The Empire is cracking." That evening, Academy security officers came to Jia's room. They were tall Takri with hard faces. "Human student Jia," one said. "You will come with us for questioning." Doyen changed to an alarmed red color. "She hasn't done anything wrong." "It's okay," Jia told her roommate. "I'll go." They took her to a small room with no windows. For 2 hours, they asked her about her blog, about who she talked to, about what she knew of Neridian. "I just write what I see," she said over and over. "I don't know anything about rebellions." When they finally let her go, she found Suk waiting outside. "Are you okay?" Suk asked, her voice low. "Yes," Jia said. "But I don't understand. Why is everyone so afraid of some silly blog posts?" Suk took Jia's hand. "Because you showed people that they can question the way things are. And once they start questioning..." She didn't finish. "They don't stop," Jia said quietly. That night, a message appeared on Jia's screen. It was from someone named Huck. "Your words freed a world, and it's just the beginning." Jia stared at the message on her screen. Someone named Huck was thanking her for freeing a world. Her hands shook as she typed back. "Who are you? What do you mean?" The answer came quickly. "I am the one who shared your words with Neridian. Your blog gave us courage." Jia felt cold. This was real. People had used her words to start a revolution. "I never meant to cause trouble," she wrote. "You told the truth. The trouble was already there." Before she could answer, Doyen burst into the room. Her skin was flashing warning colors. "The academy is shutting down. All foreign students must report to the main hall." Jia quickly closed her screen. "What's happening?" 4 more planets are refusing to obey the Takri. They're calling it the human wave. In the main hall, hundreds of students from different worlds stood in nervous groups. Academy officials checked names on lists. Takri security guards watched everyone closely. Ms. Park, the human advisor, found Jia in the crowd. "There you are. Are you okay?" "I think so," Jia said. "What's going on?" The Academy is sending most foreign students home. Too dangerous to have them here, they say. Ms. Park looked around, then whispered, "But not you. The Tekri High Council wants you to stay where they can watch you." Jia felt sick. They know about my blog. Everyone knows, Jia. It's being shared across all systems. The fear must have shown on Jia's face, because Ms. Park squeezed her arm gently. "Be brave. You haven't done anything wrong." As students were sorted into groups for transport ships, Jia saw Suk across the hall. The Tekri girl was watching her with all four eyes. Then Suk did something surprising. She touched her hand to her heart and bowed slightly, a human gesture of respect. That night, most of the academy was empty. The hallways were quiet. Jia sat alone in her room. Doyen had been sent back to her water moon. A soft knock came at her door. When she opened it, Professor Q slipped inside. "I don't have long," he said. "The council is meeting now to decide what to do about you." "Me? But I'm just a student." Professor Q's feathers rustled with what Jia now recognized as laughter. "A student whose words have shaken the empire. 4 more worlds have stopped sending resources to the Tekri. They demand new agreements. Equal trade. Fair treatment." "I should leave," Jia said. "Go back to Earth." "That would make you look guilty," the professor said. "And they would still blame humans for the trouble." Another knock, harder this time. Professor Q went silent. Jia opened the door a crack. It was Suk. "Let me in, quickly." Once inside, Suk pulled out a small device. "Look at this. It's from the council meeting." The screen showed a large room where Tekri leaders sat in a circle. One was speaking. "The human blog must be stopped. Already 8 systems are in open revolt. The workers refuse to obey. They quote this human perspective and laugh at us." "Laugh." Another voice answered. "Perhaps we should listen to what they want." "Listen? To lesser beings? Never. We must make an example of this human girl." Jia felt the blood drain from her face. Suk turned off the device. "My father sent this to me," she said. "He wants me to warn you." "Your father?" Jia was shocked. "But he's on the council." Suk's skin patterns showed deep emotion. "Yes, and he has read your blog too." It made him think. Professor Q moved toward the door. "I must go before they notice I'm missing. Jia, whatever happens, remember this. Ideas cannot be killed." After he left, Suk stayed. "I should go too. But I wanted you to know that not all Tekri think the same way." Jia nodded. "Thank you for warning me." "What will you do now?" Suk asked. Jia looked at her screen, where Kwek's message still showed. "I think," she said slowly, "I need to finish what I started." She opened her blog and began to type. "Today, I learned that words have power." Across the galaxy, people waited for her next post. 3 days after most students left, the academy called Jia to a special hearing. The message came early in the morning, delivered by a stern Tekri guard. "Main council chamber. 1 hour," he said, then left without waiting for an answer. Jia's hands shook as she got dressed. She chose her regular academy uniform, thinking it would be best to look like a normal student. As she was about to leave, her screen lit up with a message from Cook. "Be strong. Millions stand with you today." The council chamber was the largest room Jia had ever seen of the academy. Tall windows showed the stars outside. In the center was a round table where 12 Tekri elders sat. Their skin patterns glowed with formal colors. Jia recognized Suk's father by his golden marks. Professor Q stood to one side. He gave Jia a small nod as she entered. "Human student Jia," said the head elder, a female Tekri with silver patterns. "You have been called to answer for your actions against the Empire." "I haven't taken any actions," Jia said, keeping her voice steady. "I only wrote my thoughts. Thoughts that have caused rebellion on 11 planets." Another elder shouted, his skin flashing angry red. The head elder raised her hand for quiet. Your blog questions our right to rule. It mocks our customs. It encourages lesser beings to demand equality. I just wrote what I saw, Gia said. If seeing the truth makes people want change, maybe change is needed. The room grew very quiet. Then the doors opened, and Suk walked in. I wish to speak for the human, she said, her voice clear and strong. The elders turned to look at her. Suk's father seemed surprised. Daughter of Elder Ta, why do you defend this troublemaker? Asked the head elder. Suk stood tall. Because she is not a troublemaker. She is a mirror. She shows us what we have become. And many of us do not like what we see. Whispers filled the room. Jia could hardly believe what was happening. Suk was risking everything to stand up for her. This is not about one human's words, Suk continued. This is about what those words revealed. Our empire is not fair. We have forgotten that leadership means caring for all, not just ruling over them. Before any elder could respond, the large screens around the room suddenly turned on. The news channel showed crowds of people on the Takri homeworld. Thousands stood silently in the main square of the capital city. This is impossible, an elder shouted. Our own people would never join this madness. The head elder turned to Jia. What have you done? Nothing you did not do to yourselves, Professor Q said, stepping forward. For too long, we have taught that questioning is weakness, that accepting is strength. This human child simply asked why, and a galaxy followed her example. The chamber doors opened again. This time, many academy students entered. Takri students. They lined the walls of the room, watching silently. The head elder looked around, clearly shaken. What is the meaning of this? One student stepped forward. We have read the human's words too. We have questions of our own now. On the screens, the crowds on the Takri homeworld had grown larger. Some held signs with quotes from Joe's blog. Suk's father stood up slowly. Perhaps, he said, his voice quiet but clear, we should listen to these questions. All of them. The head elder looked at him in shock. You would give in to this. I would grow, he answered. As we have always claimed to be the most advanced beings, it is time we proved it, by being willing to change. Jia watched in amazement as the council began to argue among themselves. Some were angry, others thoughtful. The screens showed more planets joining the peaceful protests. Suk moved to stand beside Jia. You did this, she whispered, with nothing but truth and humor. I didn't mean to, Jia whispered back. The best revolutions, Professor Q said quietly, joining them, are the ones no one planned. The next week passed in a blur. Jia watched from her room as the news showed more and more planets joining what they now called the Quiet Revolution. No fighting, no wars, just people standing together, asking questions and refusing to follow unfair rules. The academy remained nearly empty, but Jia was no longer alone. Suk had moved into Doyen's old bed, saying she wanted to learn more about humans. My father says I should stay away from you, Suk told her. But he said it in a way that meant I should do the opposite. On the 5th day, a message came from Guk with a video link. Watch this. You made it happen. The link showed a meeting on Neridian. Takri officials sat at a table with Neridian leaders, signing papers. This is the new agreement, said a Neridian woman Jia recognized as Miso. Equal trade, fair payment for our resources, and the right to choose our own leaders. The Takri official looked unhappy but signed the papers. Similar scenes played out on other worlds. The mighty Takri Empire was changing, not through war, but through simple refusal to continue as before. On the 7th day, Elder Ta, Suk's father, came to visit Jia. I must speak with the human who showed us our own reflections, he said when Jia opened the door. They sat in the small room, the tall blue Takri looking strange on a human-sized chair. Do you know what you have done? He asked. Not really, Jia admitted. I just wrote what I saw. For 1,000 years, My people have ruled the stars. We believed it was our right because we were stronger, smarter, more advanced. His skin patterns showed deep thought. No one ever just laughed at us before. I wasn't trying to be mean, Jia said. No, you were being honest. And that was more powerful than any weapon. Elder Taz's 4 eyes blinked slowly. The High Council has fallen. 7 elders have stepped down. We are forming a new council with members from all worlds. Jia couldn't believe it. All because of a blog. All because you showed that questioning authority is not dangerous. That looking at power and laughing takes away its fear. That evening, Professor Q brought news that made Jia's heart leap. Doyen was returning to the academy, along with students from all planets. The school would reopen with a new purpose, to teach understanding between all species. The next day, a ship arrived at the academy. Jia and Suk waited in the arrival hall with Professor Q. When the doors opened, Doyen rushed out, her skin flashing happy yellow and green. Jia, she cried, wrapping her soft arms around her friend. You're famous everywhere. My whole moon is talking about you. Behind Doyen came others, students returning to the academy. And with them, a man Jia had never seen before, but somehow knew. Hyuk, she said as he approached. He nodded, his golden skin catching the light. The human who changed everything. I didn't mean to, Jia said. Hyuk smiled. That's why it worked. Your honesty was pure. You saw things as they were, not as you wanted them to be. News crews from many worlds filled the arrival hall, taking pictures of Jia standing with her friends. A human, a Takri, a Muriel, and a Neridian, all together. Later, in a quiet moment, Suk asked Jia a question that had been on her mind. Are you happy with what happened? With what your words did? Jia thought about it. I'm happy people are free. I'm happy they can speak up now, but I still feel strange that it was my silly blog that did it. Not just your blog, Suk said. Your humanity. You showed the galaxy what humans do best. Question everything, even the things everyone else accepts as normal. That night, for the first time in weeks, Jia opened her blog and wrote, Today, I learned that the most powerful force in the universe isn't technology or weapons or even knowledge. It's the ability to look at something serious and find the humor in it. Because once you can laugh at something, you're no longer afraid of it. Across the galaxy, people read her words and nodded in agreement. 1 month after the High Council fell, Jia received a message from Earth. It was from the World Leaders Council, the group that spoke for all humans in space matters. Human student Jia, your actions have opened new doors for Earth. The new Galactic Alliance has invited Earth to join as a full member. They have asked for you to be our first ambassador. Please reply with your answer. Jia read the message 3 times. An ambassador. I can't do this, she told Professor Q in his office. I'm just a student. The professor's feathers ruffled gently. You were just a student. Now you are a symbol of change. But I don't know how to be an ambassador. Did you know how to start a revolution? He asked with a small chirp of laughter. Jia had to smile at that. No, I just wrote what I thought. Then perhaps that is what makes you perfect for this job. The next day, representatives from 17 planets gathered at the academy. They had turned the main hall into a meeting place with a large round table. Everyone sat at the same level. No high chairs for important people, no low seats for others. Jia entered wearing her normal academy uniform. She had decided not to wear anything fancy. Being real had worked so far. Elder Ta welcomed her with a formal bow. The human who showed us a better way. Kuk was there too, representing Neridian. Beside him sat Miso, her scared face proud and strong. The first meeting of the Galactic Alliance will now begin, said a tall being with green scales. Our first task is to create rules that are fair for all worlds. For hours they talked. Sometimes they argued. Species that had never spoken as equals now had to learn how. Jia mostly listened, only speaking when asked directly. During a break, Hyuk found her by the window, looking out at the stars. "You are quiet today," he said. "The girl whose words changed worlds has few words now." "I'm scared," Jia admitted. "I never meant to be important." Hyuk nodded. "The best leaders are often those who never wanted to lead." "I'm not a leader," Jia said quickly. "No. Then why do all these beings from different worlds look to you when they are unsure? Why did they ask for you as Earth's voice?" Before Jia could answer, Suk joined them. She wore the new council uniform, simple blue without the gold marks of the old empire. "My father says humans have a special power," Suk said. "You see things freshly. You question what others accept." "That's not special," Jia said. "Anyone can ask questions, but not everyone does," Hyuk replied. "Most people follow the patterns they are given." When the meeting resumed, Elder Tae asked Jia to speak about Earth's way of making decisions. She stood up slowly, looking around at all the different faces, some with many eyes, some with scales, some with feathers, and some like smooth stone. "On Earth, we believe everyone should have a voice," she began. "We don't always agree. We argue and make mistakes, but we try to listen to each other." The room was quiet as she spoke. These powerful beings from across the galaxy leaned forward to hear a young human girl. "Maybe that's what we need here," Jia continued. "Not just rules that are fair on paper, but a promise to really hear each other, to question things that seem wrong, even if they've been that way for a long time." When she finished, the green-scaled being nodded. "This will be our first principle. The right to question. The duty to listen." That evening, Jia sent a message back to Earth. "I accept the position, but with one condition. I want to finish my education first. A good ambassador should understand the world she speaks for." As she pressed send, Doyen bounced into the room, her skin flashing excited colors. "Did you hear? They're renaming the main library after you." Jia laughed. "That's silly. I haven't done anything that special." "You've done what no battleship could do," Doyen said. "You changed minds." 5 years passed. Jia finished her studies at the academy, graduating with honors. Now 23 years old, she had grown from a nervous student into a confident young woman. Today, she was going home to Earth for the first time since she left for space. The ship landed in Seoul, where her family waited. They had seen her only through video calls all these years. Her mother cried when they hugged. "My daughter, the galaxy changer," her father said proudly. "I still can't believe it all happened because of some blog posts," Jia said as they drove home. The city looked both familiar and strange to her now. After years among aliens, human buildings seemed small and simple, but the smell of street food and the sound of her own language made her heart feel full. At home, her little brother, now a teenager, asked her endless questions about space and aliens. Her parents had prepared a special dinner with all her favorite foods. "There's something we want to show you," her mother said after dinner. She turned on the video screen. "This is playing in schools all over Earth now." The screen showed a museum. The sign read, "The Museum of Galactic Peace." Inside, people walked through displays about different alien worlds. In the center of the main room was a glass case. Inside it was a simple tablet. Jia's tablet, the one she had used to write her blog. "Your words are taught in history classes now," her father said. "Children learn how one human girl's observations changed the galaxy." Jia felt her face grow hot. "I was just writing what I thought." "That's the point," her mother said. "You showed the power of simple truth." The next day, Jia met with Earth's leaders. They wanted to hear about the Galactic Alliance and what it meant for humans. 27 planets are now full members, Jia told them. Each has equal voice, no matter how old or advanced their civilization is. "And the Takri?" asked one leader. "Do they accept this new order?" "Most do," Jia said. "Suk is now their main representative. She has changed many old ways." Later that week, a special ship arrived on Earth. It carried visitors from across the galaxy who wanted to see the human homeworld. Among them were Doyen, Kuk, and Suk. Jia took her friends to see oceans and mountains, cities and farms. Doyen's skin turned amazing colors when she saw a sunset for the first time. "Your world has such beauty," Suk said. "I understand now why humans see things differently. You come from a place of endless variety." On their last night on Earth, they sat together under the stars in Jia's parents' garden. "Did you ever think your blog would do all this?" Kuk asked. Jia shook her head. "Never. I was just trying not to feel so alone and strange in space." "That's why it worked," Suk said. "Your words were honest. You didn't try to start a revolution. You just pointed out things that didn't make sense, and made jokes about them." Doyen added, her skin rippling with happy colors. "Humor is a powerful weapon." Hook agreed. "When you make people laugh at something, you take away its power to scare them." The next day, Jia would return to space as Earth's official ambassador. The Academy had been changed into the center of the Galactic Alliance. Professor Q was now its leader. Before she left Earth, Jia started a new blog. This time, she named it clearly, "Building Bridges Between Worlds." Her first post read, "5 years ago, I was just a girl far from home, writing down my thoughts to feel less alone. Somehow, those words traveled farther than I ever could. They crossed space and changed minds. I learned something important. Words have power. Questions have power. And sometimes, the simplest thought can start the biggest change. We don't need weapons or wealth to make a difference. We just need to speak truth as we see it. That is humanity's gift to the stars." Across the galaxy, beings of all kinds read her words and knew that a new age had truly begun.